Welcome back to 3M Affairs. I'm Caleb John Cushing, and I'm here with my friends Josh and Brandon.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
And just, for the people at home who might not know, there's a big news item this week. There was an election in America, and it's definitely still early, and no one's called it yet. But I gotta say, things are not looking good for Kanye West.
No, I
don't think he's going to be able to pull it off, guys.
Okay, I don't want to pull you off that, but did any of you guys watch Kanye on Joe Rogan or any of the clips of it?
No. Why? Is he insane?
No, that's the problem. Is there's clips of him talking about things and he at times is just weirdly not insane.
Oh, really?
And, makes sense. And you're like, oh no.
What did he say that you felt made sense?
Well, see, here's the thing. I watched a clip of him talking about the Star Wars movies, and he made a very good case
that's
for
not
why
what I'm talking about.
No, but I'm just saying, it's not what I'm talking about either. I'm just saying he was putting his words together very well. He sounded very calm, very intelligent. He sounded like
he was doing
without
great.
being a dick about it. He sounded like he was on his meds. You know what I mean?
Wow, that is abnormal.
I mean, he got 10,000 votes in Kentucky, and that was more than I thought anybody would get. But
apparently you can run for president in some states and vice president in others. He was doing that?
So,
oh my God.
The rules are you're supposed to announce your run by a certain point in time.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that. He didn't make the cutoff for a bunch of states. But I guess he ended up on the ballots of some other states, and people who are very disillusioned with the process decided it would be a funny joke. And it is kind of funny. If I step back far enough, it's yeah, this is funny. But then I look at all these states and how it's literally coming from 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that really actually probably could have been useful.
Yeah.
Other way. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. And we just talked before. We're not going to spend too much time talking about it. But
no.
As of this recording, there is no definitive winner, but things look good for the Democrats. And so we'll see what the fuck happens.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a big fallout with what number 45 is going to do. He's already crazy speeches and people have already defended him for whatever reason. And we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be hilarious if Twitter just banned his account in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the power move. But what else has been going on with you guys?
Honestly, Caleb and I, which is funny because you asked how I'm doing and I interjected with Caleb and I, really exciting. We got together yesterday and we figured out, this sounds going to sound really silly for those that normally make movies and films and whatever on their phones and who have talent like that. But we sat for a couple hours in my apartment with different kind of mics and stuff and the phone and the tripod and just kind of worked on capturing footage and audio and then the technique of putting up to the drive, then onto Audacity for the audio. And then I downloaded iMovie for the Windows. And so I was editing things together. And so I did that. And at the end of the day, I'm super stoked to actually create. And it's easier than I thought it would be because I would sit for a long time because Caleb's brought a couple of shorts hey, we should do this. It'd be fun. And we're going to. But a lot of my hesitation comes from the fact that I've A, never done it, and B, the sheer technical aspect of shooting like a film, even if it's on your iPhone 11 or whatever, just how to do that. And we sat down, took the time to figure it out. I was inspired. I was ready to go. So
and I think from my own experience as well, the most exciting thing is the amount of learning you do in that small amount of time, right? When you're focused on figuring it out with these specific things, the amount that you put together and that inspiration and creativity starts to flow so fast. Oh wait, I can do this. Oh, that means I can do this.
Yeah.
It rolls and you start seeing it all, right? It's so cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, definitely exciting to get to work on some cool stuff. We have a lot of people in our network from grad school who are starting to really get excited about collaborating, and people are, I don't know, it's just fun. It's cool. And yeah, we were sitting down and figuring out like how to just do the most basic technical stuff. And then we were watching, some theory videos on YouTube that were really inspiring, shout out Captain Christian, shout out Every Frame of Painting. Just like really like, it's like, oh, this is like how to think creatively about the technicals too. Like, it's not just about the story, it's about like the visual storytelling in the medium.
Yeah.
So it was just a really great day, despite everything happening in the world.
A nice break.
Well, it's interesting. I just had an experience like that where like as you like when as you guys know as well, like when you're acting in something, you have to trust the technical sides of it, right, and hope for the best, but you never really know. And I just watched a rough cut for a thing today, written by you.
I haven't heard yet. I didn't.
Well, that's because of other. Anyways, the technical. It's like, and this was just like a rough cut and shit. But I was just like, when you get to finally see something where the technical is better than you could have imagined, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then like you're in it,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, wow, oh, okay. Well, this is crazy. It's So it's like the first time that's ever kind of felt like it lined up.
Yeah.
In such a cool way. So
It's cool. I've been impressed with, when you book a little project, or like for me it's like the web series or whatever, and you finally get that footage back, and you don't look bad, and you're sitting there going, okay, cool. Like, I'm not complete shit. Awesome. Let's keep going.
Can we get a hard cut here just 1 second?
Yeah.
Like okay, cool, Josh. So just cut here.
Sorry, we just had to cut. I accidentally said a racial slur. All right, no.
It's okay though. It was just about white people.
Yeah. Oh no. It was fully against white people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm. You know what? No, we're gonna start over. That was a dumb.
He called me a Ritz.
I called Brandon a filthy fucking Canuck.
Wow.
And so we had to.
That's
cut.
not. Don't do that. It's also like, okay, that's supposed to be like a slur, right?
Is it? I thought it was a joke.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I guess it kind of is, but it can't be because it's literally one of the hockey teams, or the Vancouver Canucks.
That's like if you called us Yankees. It's like, no, okay. Like, yeah. I know it's supposed to be.
You know what it's like? Yeah, it'd be like the Yankees are like putting a real hard like turn on like being like, you goddamn Patriots.
Well,
something like that.
But like, there's also the Washington Redskins right now. Still, as a football team.
No, there's not, Josh, and you know this.
I know they're changing
Washington Football Club.
Yeah, I know.
Is that real?
They're changing it. Yeah, yeah. They're in the process of like
that is so
rebranding.
Funny that they couldn't come up with any name, so they said the Washington Football Club.
And like their jerseys and helmets and everything, like it just says like Washington Football Team. I don't know if it's football team or football club, but I like it. I think they
call
should
it Washington. Yeah, they're doing like an Alabama type of thing. I think
that's that's like a very postmodern like branding idea.
Well, but also Josh is right. It's also like a very accepted thing already because so many of the colleges are just that, right?
Well, no. Like when I say Alabama, I mean like with like just the red helmet and maybe the number and things like that, like the design of their stuff. Yeah. But like, I mean, good for them for finally fucking like getting rid of that shit.
So slow. South Park did this episode 3 years ago. Like, that's how slow this is.
Well, it's just so funny because like you grow up not realizing that it's offensive because it's like, oh, that's just the name of the team.
Yeah.
And then you meet people that are like, well, this is why it actually is really bad. And for my culture, and I would prefer it. And it should be as simple as like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that personally. That makes a lot of sense. We should probably change it. But then you get people that are like, it's football and it's fucking sacred. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's insane.
Well, and then also there's like the other different sides of it where when I saw this, I was like, well, how come we're not changing the Chicago Blackhawks? Isn't that? And then when I looked it up, it was like, no, like that's a person that they named it after.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you know what I mean?
And he was
it's
really
like,
good at hockey. So
well, now it feels stupid. But also apparently like they give a bunch of money back to like the whichever.
Yeah. No, there's a reason that they're not in the news.
Right, exactly. It's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing, you know?
When are we going to talk about the disgusting display of the Philadelphia Fanatic? It is offensive to me and my people. And no, I don't know.
Hey, come on, MLB. How come I gotta say Fnatic the whole time? You know, it's just it's a Fnatic, but I'm saying Fnatic the whole time, so I'm worried about getting sued by the MLB.
We must change the Boston Red Sox. Not everybody in Boston. I don't know.
The Boston Knickerbockers.
I grew up in. That's so funny that you said that because I grew up in out by Kinderhook, New York, which is like old Knickerbocker, like where that comes from. So it's just funny that you said that.
Look at that.
Finding, yeah, sorry. The bits are all over the place. None of us have gotten any sleep. We're all
no. It's been a crazy few days.
Yeah,
been a crazy few days for sure. I'm moving, so that's dope. But been a lot of paperwork and that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have does Toronto have the guarantor bullshit that New York City does? Like, do you have to make like 80 times or 40 times the rent or some shit?
Yeah. It's been a nightmare. It is. That's why this has been like every week I come on the podcast and I'm like, all right, guys, get ready to move. Should have a place, but I finally signed for a place and it turned out to be the best possible of all the places and can't wait. So it's gonna be good.
That's awesome.
That's good. Congrats,
man.
I don't know. I really can't tell you what it'll be like 6 months from now. When I'm trying to like find a new place because I don't know what's going on. But
at least I feel like in New York, there's more places, right? And a lot of people have left. Like I imagine. I mean, that's one of the things about the place I found is the prices are so much lower.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely the median is definitely much lower than it has been for like decades, or at least for the last 10 years. But the issue is like my own personal income and like saving money to like move.
The prices have gone down, but like the landlords still expect you to have a job. So
where are you guys at with like the bar system and stuff there? Does it look like it's going to shut down again at any time soon?
I haven't gotten any words or texts or anything like that. So I'm keeping on. You know, I'm covering a bunch of shifts, so the paychecks are good. So hopefully the tip money keeps. Hopefully, you know, with the outcome of this election is favorable. So hopefully people kind of be in a better mood and like start coming out more and things like that. Although during this whole thing, we did have our highest new cases of COVID. So like 120,000. Like it's fucking ridiculous. And who knows what's going to be like when this episode comes out, you know, in a week. But we have to get that under control before the bar gets. Like it's just we have to focus, you know. And
you mean just ignoring the pandemic doesn't make it go away?
But it's crazy because like when you look at the difference in attitudes towards it, we're around like 1,000 cases just over 1,000 cases a day in Ontario, and people are freaking right because that's the highest cases we've had, and every state in the States is 10 times that. I mean, also to be fair, there's like assumedly a lot more people in all the states, but Ontario is, I mean, pretty populated. Toronto is a city of 8 million people, 10 million people, whatever. I don't know. But it's just the perception is so different, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Japan is one of the most populous like countries in Asia. They're like a very modern country. They never had to go full shutdown. They have very, very few cases because everybody wears masks anyway when they're not feeling well. Even if they're not feeling well and they have to get on the subway, they wear a mask. It's that simple. And yes, there like is more people in America, but like a lot of this could have been stopped if people were just, I don't know. It's depressing because even in fucking New York, I walk around and people aren't wearing masks. You know, it's just like, I don't know. I hope that it all gets figured out. You know, I hope your bar gets open at full capacity soon. I hope we all get to move on with our fucking lives.
And actually start planning.
Start planning for the future. Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But we're all good here. So, Brandon, have you this has been on like a big topic that Caleb and I have been talking about. Have you finished Boys season 2?
No. I'm currently watching through The Boys season 1 again with my girlfriend and.
Then, what? You can't. What?
You can't.
Yeah,
no. TMZ.
No.
Brandon's dating somebody. Who is she?
Hold on a second. You don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but I think that was a very uncool way of just trying to casually drop that information. We wouldn't jump right on that. Or maybe that's what you wanted, you fucking diva.
She's great. I don't want to divulge too much information, but anyways, Michelle, she's fantastic. She's a musical theater actress and film actress and all that. And yeah,
she just moved to Canada. Her name's Ivanka. She's absolutely gorgeous. She won't talk about her dad very much.
But the last couple of weeks, I've been filming the show 90 Day Fiance.
Oh my god, I would love it. You'd be so much fun to watch on 90 Day Fiance.
I we talked about this. I've been offered like some of those reality shows before, like especially like the more like the Love Island type ones, and I'm the worst possible candidate for that stuff, and you know that. I mean, you guys are my friends.
It would not be good for you. No, but it would be very entertaining.
Yeah. But for me, which is what I meant. It'd be terrible.
No. Yeah, it would be awful. But like, I would watch it.
It's like you guys both know exactly how that would go.
Yeah.
This is so not related at all, and we'll move on. But you just reminded me. Did you ever watch MTV's Undateable?
Yeah. Which one was that? I definitely did.
It's like a blind date. Like you have the guy or the girl, and then they meet 3 people randomly, and you can only ask like very basic. You only have like very basic information about them. It's like a very dumb idea for a show, but it lasted like a bunch of seasons. And the only reason I bring it up is because like I have never met anyone who's been on any of those shows like that, except one time when I was in high school. Like a younger guy started teaching English. And then everybody was like, dude, it was on fucking Undateable. And they found like a clip of him like totally just like embarrassing himself. And then he stopped teaching there because the kids just didn't respect him because he was on Undateable. And it was like one of the worst fucking...
do you remember Next? The one with the bus?
No, I'm sorry. That's the one I was thinking of. It's MTV's Next, not Undateable. I don't know why
it was because I thought we had talked about this.
It was MTV's Next, not Undateable. I'm sorry. That was the right name. Yeah, no, it was Next fully. That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, that was the worst one because people would walk off the bus and they'd just be like, next. And you're like, oh no.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like that was it was like essentially, like
I do remember that show.
That was the thing. It was like next.
Brandon, are you happy?
I am happier than I ever remember being.
Good.
So
good.
Yeah.
But then finish with season
even
2.
Happier than when you were working on my show.
Wow.
No. That was pretty dope time. But it's different because I don't know if you remember, but that was a pretty stressful time for all of us.
That was like very much a joke. And I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
That being said, though, I do have to read a script at some point soon, which I'm excited about. So,
yay.
A couple of them. You've had one for a while.
What? Which one? What's happening? What did I miss?
The feature.
Caleb's
It's been like
feature.
2 months.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I've read most of that. We just haven't talked about it.
Well, because you haven't let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know when you read all of it.
All right. Yeah, I got to finish it. And then I will.
Pennywise comes in at the end. Shit. Sorry.
What'd you say? What did you fucking say to me?
Josh,
piece of shit.
I said because Pennywise comes in at the end.
I'm going to be upset now because Pennywise doesn't come in, or does he? I don't know with you, man. I don't know with you. He could.
It's the Pennywise origin story. I got drafted by by Sony or Fox. I don't know who makes it.
Does it?
But they were like, we don't have any ideas. We really need an origin story for this demented space clown. We find that people really respond well to the origin story. And we don't want to pay anyone a significant amount of money for this. So would you write this prequel to It? That's how I'm going to break in, boys.
Look,
there you go.
We heard your podcast about the Dark Tower, and we heard how you feel about it. So we'd like you to take a run at the Pennywise prequel, okay?
We think you're the perfect candidate as someone who has open disdain for our films.
It's wild though, because Stephen King films, as we saw in our Stephen King 3-film thing, is such a wild range of films.
Well, because he does something that I actually think is really cool. Anybody who asks can get the rights to his stories very cheaply. Like he makes it very easy to make films from his works because he believes in being creative in the creative process, and he wants to make it easy for artists to make art. So I think that is an actually like really beautiful gesture on his part.
Mm-hmm.
But what it means is that pretty much any asshole can make a movie from his stuff, and that's why most of them are atrocious and just not very good. Like there are so many 90s and 80s movies adapted from his stuff that are so bad. For every like Shining and Stand By Me and Shawshank, there's like a million Tommy Knockers or like, you know, The Stand or whatever. Just this horrible shit.
Wait. Just because Ryan and I just watched this on Shudder, Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Is that Stephen King?
Yeah.
Is that one of the duds?
Was it good?
Which
I haven't seen
the
it. Josh,
TV series.
Like it?
The old one or the new one? The new one's bad.
The old one it was like 3 hours long. It has like, remember like back What We Do in the Shadows, like the old creature vampire? That's like the vampire villain.
Yeah.
And it's like, I forget who it has in it. But yeah, no, it's definitely from like the 70s.
Yeah. Salem's Lot is a fucking awesome book.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the few books that I've read that like scared me. I was like, oh, this shit's like terrifying.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you get
there
like
was
why
like
he's
the
so
fucking
famous.
kid like floating. He's like, let me in. And it's like with the eyes glowing. Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
Is that the one where it's built on like a burial ground or some shit?
That's Pet Cemetery.
I feel like there's more than one there where there's a burial.
You know
ground.
what?
Okay.
That's fair. There's probably more than one. But I think you're thinking of that's like the famous one where like they bury the kid and then he comes back to life.
Right. And that remake recently was good. Well, not great, but it was pretty good.
I didn't think so.
I just like that.
Good.
I like that guy. I like that guy.
I saw that with our friend Max and
John
like,
Lithgow, right?
There were like a couple times where he would turn to me and be like, "So this is bad, right?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, Max." But it's fun to go to the movies. I miss going to the movies.
I miss the movies so much.
I would love to go see something. It doesn't have to be good. I'll take anything at this point. Please.
Apparently, Tenet's coming to home in December.
Cool. And then Mulan's going to be available in December on Disney Plus.
Bad idea that was by Disney. Unspeakably bad idea.
I hope they made some money. I'm sure they did.
Regardless of what you think about like Disney, I know I'm pretty anti the whole remake thing in general. I hope we can all agree it was a really bad look to film next to an active concentration camp performing a genocide on like an ethnic religious minority.
That's number one. Two, then definitely don't try to charge people $30 for something that they're already paying for, you douches.
Yeah, in the middle of a global health crisis that has left millions of people unemployed and
Also, like, I'm not realizing that I literally just ended working for Disney like last week, so now I feel like a dick. But whatever, I didn't make those decisions.
As long as you haven't shown your tits, that's all that matters.
You know that I often try to show my tits.
Like, she can't do any more Disney movies because Brokeback Mountain.
She doesn't get naked in Mulan, does she?
What
are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about...
What Josh is saying is if you show if you do nudity, what he's saying is it seems like you can't do Disney movies. But I mean, think about like all the Marvel people and all the other stuff Disney owns now. Maybe it's different because it's Marvel, but maybe, like Scarlett Johansson and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Well, that's the only reason she was cast. It's definitely a case by case basis.
Yeah, well, because
you think that they were going to cast a not like attractive actress for Black Widow? Like that's what I'm saying.
Well said. Okay. Well said. She's also fantastic. I went back and watched like Iron Man 2
It was down to
again.
the wire between Scarlett Johansson and Rachel Dratch, and we decided somehow, for some reason, to go with Scarlett Johansson. She just has the acting ability to play this character.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, but still, like Jessica Chastain in that episode of Firefly, and I know she comes back, but I haven't got to it yet, is unfucking believable.
Sometimes people confuse Jessica Chastain with Christina Hendricks.
Yeah.
And sometimes those people
God damn it. Damn it. My bad. I meant Christina Hendricks.
I get it because they do look alike.
Ah, shit. No, but even in my head, I wasn't like thinking about it as the same person. I was thinking Christina Hendricks. That's on me. I apologize.
Christina, we know you're listening. We know you tune in every week. We're very, very sorry. Come on the show sometime.
Yeah, because you were great in Firefly, and I want to talk about it. Also, like, you know, a bunch of other stuff that you've done, but, you know, whatever.
No, let's be honest. It's Firefly for our demographic.
It's so good.
All right, we could do this for hours, but I can look. Josh is looking very.
Here's the thing. So it's funny because those that listen to the podcast love the. I mean, we could talk for hours about anything, whatever. But we do watch a movie every week, and Caleb will introduce that.
Allegedly.
But it's funny because it's been such a hectic, crazy week. You know what I mean? Like everything's just kind of thrown off. And I think when we get together on these like recordings, that it's just like we don't see each other, whatever, and it's just our time to kind of like disconnect from the reality and just like banter. And so like I really enjoy it.
I'm glad, because your face indicates otherwise. Well, I think that's the only reason I said anything.
No, Josh just goes into director mode after a while, and it's like, all right, let's herd some cats.
That's exactly what it is. I look over, and he's like patiently waiting for the bit to finish so that we can get into the next. So I love you, buddy. So it's true. We did watch a film from 1994, Hong Kong, Chungking Express. I had not seen this in many, many years. I really enjoyed revisiting it. Very, very curious. I've talked to Josh a little bit, but not too much. And I want to know what you guys thought of it. What it was like for you to watch. Sorry, I don't have a voice. To jump in.
Brandon, you go.
All right. So I have questions. Obviously the plot is a little all over the place, but that just doesn't matter at all. Like I have questions out of interest, not necessarily out of like any effect on the movie. I keep finding that when we grab and go into a slice of life type movie like this, especially foreign ones, it grabs me really hard. The way it was shot was beautiful. I mean, the tone of it. I have so many questions about the director, and I didn't look into it because I want to talk about it on here, and I know that you already knew about it. So,
yeah.
But obviously it's such a distinct style. I know this movie blew him up and made him a huge director there. And you can see why. It's so quirky. If this was a changing pace for Japanese cinema, I would totally get that. Cause it's just,
for Hong Kong.
Oh, sorry, Hong Kong cinema. I don't remember any movies that we've watched that had that same slice of life style and was just so, we're following these people. They're so natural. They're just living their lives. I don't know. I just found it incredibly interesting. What happened to the first guy? So like, again, I have questions.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, Brandon, because my first watch was the exact same thing. And when I say first watch, my only full watch, because I did go back and I kind of sped through it a little bit before the podcast, and I watched a couple of supplemental videos to kind of help bring me along academically with what it is, because I did have the same exact questions as you, and I still have some questions, but it makes a lot more sense, and we'll definitely dissect it and talk about it and the whys. The funny thing with my watching it, and I told Caleb this, is that because it was when I watched it Wednesday afternoon, I had just got done getting maybe 4 hours of sleep because I stayed up until 3:30, 4 o'clock watching the election. And then I woke up and kept watching the election, and I was like, I gotta watch this movie, so I'm gonna do it. And I was watching it, and because I was laying in the couch, I started nodding off a little bit about 45 minutes in, and that's where the changeover is between storylines. And so when I fully was awake again and like watching it and active, I was like, whoa, hold up. Where's the blonde, the drug runner at? Where's the first cop at? What is going on? I still enjoyed what I watched, but I was so confused. But I did watch on the criteria. Yes, go ahead.
No, and also like that and not that the second guy isn't, because I ended up liking him as much, but the first guy, by that point, you're just like, this guy is so entertaining and interesting. I'd watch him all day, and then he's just gone.
Yeah. It's funny because we watch, like, so on the Criterion channel, where we watched it, where it's available, there's the collection, right? So there's a couple of interviews with a professor who virtually had the same exact reaction that we did when he saw it in late 1994. But then it's that sitting with it and then going back and being like, oh, okay. So because it's riddled with motifs and different themes that keep repeating itself, and it allows you to relook at how you tell a narrative. Like in like a full movie, we're
Mhm.
so used to like these are our main characters and these are the subplots and things like that, and everything gets resolved and yay, happy. But this is definitely not that. So, or it is that just in a different like packaging. So, yeah, it was alright.
Wow.
It's okay. That was my initial reaction, but
Yeah, and there was just so many interesting scenes that are so unique to it. Like the scene of the second guy talking to all the things in his apartment and like talking them down to make them less depressed was amazing. And like, what a great thing to keep coming up. Just little things. Okay, wait, but plot wise. All right. So I'm with Josh right now. The movie just switches halfway through. I'm not sure why, but I love it. It's good. But then, okay, so the stewardess that we keep seeing with the white dude, right? Is, I'm assuming then the one who left the second guy.
No,
you're talking about the waitress.
those are completely different characters.
See, this is so confusing.
Yeah. The flight attendant.
I'm trying to make connections.
Well, so the thing I feel like with this film that I think, you know, if you go into it looking for like the tangible connections in terms of like a character being in both stories or like a forwardly propelled narrative in the traditional sense, I think you're just going to end up getting like frustrated because those aren't like the types of connections that Wong Kar-wai is like trying to make.
Okay.
It's more like thematic. Like this is
Got
like
it.
what
Got
I
it.
call like a mood movie. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting down to
Definitely.
like get a traditional like three act like Freytag pyramid structure.
Mhm.
It's more about evoking senses of like loss and romance and connection and melancholy. And there's such a words are escaping me. But there is a Jesus fucking Christ. I can't think of the word. We're gonna cut all this out.
I don't remember seeing Jesus in the movie, but if I miss that, that's going to be a big miss for me.
All right. There is an importance, which is not the word that I'm looking for, but there's an importance placed on this idea of like the universality in these experiences that the characters are having.
Mhm.
And like we live in New York or like Toronto or like big cities, right? And like every single person that you pass by and when you're walking or commuting has their own story. And sometimes you bump into somebody and then it's like, oh, what is their whole narrative? Like, what's their whole life? And you see that in the beginning where like the first cop who, Brandon, you were saying is like the young guy.
Yeah.
Who it's crazy because he was only 20 years old when he shot the movie.
Really?
And he bumps into the woman in the blonde wig, and it's like, you know, then their lives become intertwined. And later he bumps into Faye at the Midnight Express, and now it's her story. You know what I mean? And like, so we're completely passing over to now this new narrative that is dealing with a lot of the same themes because everybody has these experiences of like love and loss and like romance and connection. And so that's what I get out of it. It's less like finding like the plot connections and more like, oh, like what is he trying to say by having different characters go through similar things? You know?
Well, that's what I meant before by being like, there's questions I have, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
like
I'm
you
really
said,
glad
like-
that you said that
Because it's true because it is that type of movie. Like it's just this conversation that I needed to have to be like, oh, that's what it is. Great. Like if that's what it is, fantastic. It's just knowing whether I'm supposed to be trying to find connections or not. You know what I mean? Like actual plot connections, not the mood connections or thematic connections, you know?
Yeah.
Did the second girl remind anybody of the girl from A Knight's Tale? I could not stop thinking that.
The main girl, like the
Yeah.
I did not draw that connection. No, but that's interesting.
I don't know. I couldn't stop thinking that.
But we also don't have A Knight's Tale running through our brain or our veins
That's true.
That's
like
true,
Brandon
yeah.
does. So
Yeah, I
I don't
close
have
my
my-
eyes and all I hear is, you can change your stars.
All right. Yeah, no, the connections I think are more thematic and also like music plays a huge part, like as a repeating motifs, like What a Difference a Day Makes plays a huge role, and I think that song's beautiful. Obviously, this song has 8 different iterations of California Dreamin'.
But it's fantastic.
You know, the second Faye, the woman in the second story, she's like more famous in Hong Kong for being a pop singer. And so that's her singing the cover of the Cranberries' Dreams.
No way.
That like plays throughout. And so it's just this, it's like the mood and the sense that it evokes when you're watching it. And like, if you guys like didn't connect with it in that way, then that's like totally fine. But for me, I find it to be a very beautiful, a very like soothing and sometimes like a really funny movie. Because like, I don't know, I think a lot of people, I mean, I can only speak for myself, I guess, but I've been like in situations of like heartbreak and unrequited love and like the silly fucking things you do to like get through it, like buying pineapple cans. And,
that was amazing. And he's waiting for the last day of them to expire. And he's arguing with the guy who's selling them, being like, just being like, no,
why would you not get a?
Did you have any that are expiring today? He's like, no, I threw them out.
Why would I fucking do that, you psychopath? But he's a young guy, you know, and he's like lovesick, and he's
it's very romantic. Like his password is love you for
10,000 years, which is such, you know, this idea of time, right, is such a huge important thing, and I really love. So I guess the way to talk about it at first might be like, we'll do the first story and then the second story and then together. I mean, that's how I was thinking about it. So I love that. He's this young guy, and he's, you know, obviously it's a different culture, it's a different time. So divorce the current idea of the police from our heads. But he's a young cop, and he's just got dumped by his girlfriend, and he's trying to buy he's like, I'm gonna buy a can of pineapples every day until May 1st.
May 1st is his birthday,
which is his birthday, and also his girlfriend's name is May.
Yeah.
So and then a parallel story is this woman in a blonde wig and sunglasses and a trench coat, who's like a drug smuggler, is trying to get these fucking Indians to smuggle drugs. And then they get set up, and then her white drug dealer's trying to set her up. And so she's like running around through the criminal underworld, and it's like kind of an action movie. Yeah. But then you just cut to this guy who's like on the phone being like, can you please just call me back? You know, it's just such an interesting cross section of
or she's asleep at the hotel, and he's like, I watched 2 old movies and had 4 chef salads that night. You know,
which is so funny because as he says that, at least I don't know, did you also watch the Criterion channel, Brandon?
Yeah.
That edition of it. So like in that copy of it, that translation, he says 4 chef salads. He's absolutely like going to town on a hamburger.
100%. And it's shoved into his mouth. And exactly. As he's talking about the chef salad.
I just want to quick go back just to clarify. When we say Indians, India natives. Yeah.
Yeah. The only Indians that exist.
Right. But just to kind of like, in case everyone's like, oh wait, Native Americans? I don't know. I'm just
sure.
I wanted to like check that off real quick.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting too because so the movie's called Chungking Express, right? And it's 2 narratives, and the title takes from the first half, Chungking. The first story is set in the Chungking Mansions, which is a very like crime-ridden neighborhood of Hong Kong, and you know he set the story there because that's where he spent a lot of time growing up. But also, you have like the cross sections of mainland Chinese, Hong Kong. Japanese, Indian, Southeast Asian, like it's very multicultural hotspot like New York City is. And so that's sort of like how you get the seedy, like there's expatriates, like there's the white guy who I think is American. He might be British. I can't really get a thing out of his accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really cool place to set your movie.
Well, and then there's also like with the, you know, it usually happens, and we'll get to when we talk about both, but it usually happens at night in the first time, the first movie. And, you know, there's like 4 or 5 different languages. There's Hindu, there's English, there's Cantonese, there's Mandarin and probably some other ones I'm missing. But like, it's all there. Like it's such a, like a it's like a very diverse story with the actors and the environment. Cause also Hong Kong is a very, diverse, you know, city. I've never been, so I don't.
It's technically a Chinese city under British rule, and you have all these immigrants come. It's a very modern, you know, commerce and cultural cross section of a lot of different cultures. Yeah,
I want to say though too that like with the shooting style, they do. The director, I forget it.
Wong Kar-wai.
Wong. He did this weird thing with like slow mo, like slowing down the frame, but also overlaying with the very fast sped up. So like when you
When
start
she's
the movie,
shooting the guy.
Yeah, when in the beginning too,
yeah,
when
when
they're
he's
like running.
chasing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So when you
Yeah.
set up an entire premise of like, because it's the line happens twice where he brushes up against the other characters
Mhm.
and it says, "This is as close as we got, 0.01 centimeters, and in a month I'm gonna fall in love with her." Or even with Faye, he's like, "I never knew anything about this woman." You know,
Yeah.
it sets up this premise. What Caleb was saying earlier is that everybody has their own lives, living their own lives. And we'll like maybe bump into somebody, and to us, you know, that's just like a stranger or whatever. But who knows? Like maybe they come in, you know, come again to like, or you run into them again or something. It's just this weird kind of idea. And another interesting thing about the first part is that every character is introduced in the first kind of bit because, for instance, and I didn't realize this, I didn't put this together until I watched the subsequent, like the supplemental video that came with the Chungking Express
The subsequent movie film.
And you know, you see the flight attendant who is the fare, like coming out of the airport at the beginning. You see Faye coming out with the Garfield doll when the woman in the blonde wig is smoking outside of the Nintendo store or whatever. And so and you also see Richard, which is funny because Richard's been mentioned by the shop owner, like the deli owner, the Midnight Express owner, as like the guy who always like kind of he's Richard's the guy that goes after the girl and asks him out on the date. And he's trying to convince 223 or the first cop that, you know, he has to do what Richard does. You have to go for it. Ask my cousin out or go on a date. And he's like, I don't know. I'm waiting for my true love or May or whatever. But it's introduced, and then that's kind of that thing where you kind of get lost in the confusion because you're not familiar with the type of movie it is. And then when you actually go back and you lay all the pieces out, you're like, oh shit, yeah, no, totally get it. You know, or that was a very clever way to, you know, sprinkle that stuff.
It's like it feels like it's you know, like handing it off. It's like handing a baton off each time, going from character to character. I found myself so entertained by that first kid. Just like for the scenes where he was just sitting around his apartment and stuff, or when he was like eating the pineapples and playing with the dog. It just, he was so natural, so relaxed, so just comfortable in being the character. And with how it was shot, Josh, like you said, like it was very engrossing and calming weirdly too. So
yeah, he was very entertaining and he's very natural. And he has a couple of my favorite moments. Like I love when he's on the phone trying to get a date and like it escalates to the point where he's like, yeah, you don't remember me? We had 4th grade together. All right, see you later. But one of in my opinion, the best moment in the first part is when he approaches Bridget Lynn, the woman in the blonde wig, and he asks her if she likes pineapple in 4 different languages. And I just think that's it's so odd, but it's charming. And then like they have their, not exactly like romance, but they have their, you know, moment and brief evening of connection. And I think it's really sweet. And he has no idea that this woman is like a drug smuggler. And in a lot of ways, he's been chasing her, you know, or the people she works with for, you know, his whole job. And it's his birthday. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's so fucking charming and sweet.
I do find it with that moment in the bar, though, interesting that the only time that she like answers him is when he speaks Cantonese.
Mandarin.
Mandarin.
She finally is like, your Mandarin is okay, is good for.
Well, it's because so the difference, so like Mandarin is like the dialect of Chinese that like mainland China speaks, and Cantonese is typically what's spoken in Hong Kong, especially at the time. So, and he also was speaking Japanese and English, and everything except for Mandarin, everything like was just heavily accented, which is something that like you probably won't be able to hear as an English speaker. So that's why she's like, oh, your Mandarin's actually not bad, because he just was going through all of these things. Like, okay, like I'll go through all these languages I know.
Didn't he say? Sorry, Brandon, you go.
No, just it's obviously like, I don't have an ear for it, but if I did have an ear for it, it'd be him hitting each accent pretty perfectly. That's what's happening there. That's why.
It would be, you would be able to tell that it was an accent. It's like
I mean, saying the dialects like clear enough that they're very different. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can understand what they're saying, but it's like, oh, you definitely are not from here. You know, you have an accent.
Oh, that way. Sorry, I was thinking about. Okay, I was thinking about the other way. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Didn't the character say he grew up in Taiwan?
Yeah, which is like the politics of China are like fucking crazy. So technically, Taiwan is actually quote unquote China, and then mainland China is like the communist overthrow government.
Okay.
And Hong Kong is like its own thing. So there's like all different, but they speak Mandarin in Taiwan.
Okay, and then that's why. But that's why we call it's Hong Kong cinema.
Yeah, it's very
Chinese
much its own culture and its own thing. But yeah, Bridget Lin came out of retirement to work on this movie. Wong Kar-wai was like already kind of this is the movie that helped blow him up internationally, but he was already like a bigwig down there. And I think it's so great because it makes sense for her character to be wearing the wig and the sunglasses and the trench coat because she's like got to hide her identity and she's doing all this illegal shit. And we'll get into like later, the backstory of how this movie got made and everything. Mm-hmm. But it was like very much a short time frame. And she was already filming another movie at the same time. That was like a period piece. Oh. And she had to like be in the makeup and the hairstyle and everything. So instead of like getting out of that every day, she just put on a wig and sunglasses. And like, I'm gonna shoot this movie now. Amazing,
and it fits. It
totally fits. Yeah.
I mean, we always find ourselves talking about this, I think, with every movie, but at certain points, there's those beautiful accidents, right? Something that works out way better than it would have because you have to find a solution for a problem.
Yeah.
Which is such a wonderful part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that everybody told us in school was, creativity born out of limitations.
Right, exactly.
I think it's awesome.
Oh, man. Such good scenes. Also, she was very, 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 very intimidating and then just shot the shit out of that other woman or dude or whatever at the end.
It was the guy who tried to sell her out for like drugs.
Shot the shit out of
the white guy. It just popped him.
Just popped her.
And then she was like, "Happy birthday." She left the voicemail. That scene is one that I, because I watched this years ago, but that scene of him running in the rain, is one that's always stuck by me. And then he is like, "I'm going to leave my pager and I'm not going to think about it." And then he goes off and he runs back to it to get her message.
But it was also the moment before that when he's in the rain, he just finished running.
Yeah.
And it's the most real line that he has because the other stuff where he's kind of having an internal monologue is very all about the girl and all of that. This seemed like the only moment where it became about him and he just drops the line where he's like, "I know nobody's going to call me today." And that's more than just like about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
and
birthday,
it just, and just that line, like, is the line that hit me the hardest in the whole movie with that character. Cause you could see that it was the first time where it wasn't this almost over the top on purpose defense of feeling heartbroken. This was a totally different innate thing to him.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, sorry.
No, Brandon, you finish.
Oh no, it's just for me, that was like that is what actually showed the character for me,
Yeah. I mean, the guy, when you talk about a motif of like loss, right. Or grief and like being heartbroken, being dumped, and then like he spends a whole month just hoping he's going to give it a month and he's going to retire the relationship because he's going to know, and then that's his birthday. So the month expiration date of his relationship is his birthday, which is a really important date to to most people. And so the fact that it's raining and the fact that it just very much image wise, it just shows like that it is lonely, and so he has that one connection with the woman and the blonde haired woman, and that's enough, and he can kind of go on. It's like when he bumps into Faye at the Midnight Express, we don't see him ever again, but it's almost like instead of taking that chance with her, he just kind of lets it be and he goes off and whatever his life or his story, however it finishes,
Yeah.
And then obviously we follow Faye, but yeah, no, I think there's a lot of layers to that moment in terms of not being called on your birthday, raining, you're heartbroken, you're lonely, and it is what it is,
And the way that all was shot too was just fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, it felt very anime-esque in the best possible way. Just with the rain and everything, you know what I mean? The inner monologue, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
The narration.
Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite. I love it so much. That style of stuff.
So the second story is tonally, I don't want to say very different, but it's obviously less like actiony. And it's more about, I find it to be more overtly humorous.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like funny shit that happens. But
It's more charming.
Yeah, it's out of the two. It's the one I prefer. I would never say that the first. I like them both. I think they're both great. But this is like, it's got the more iconic music like that is associated with this film, at least. You've got Faye, and you've got the guy who plays the second cop. His name's Tony Leung, and he's one of the like. I can't even think of an equivalent. He's like the most famous actor. Like,
is he?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that because he was dope.
We'll see him in the West in next year or 2 years because he got cast as the Mandarin in the Shang-Chi movie.
Oh shit! It's that guy.
He's
okay.
like
Dope.
the guy. He's like George Clooney and Brad Pitt and like and like Daniel Day-Lewis. He's like the most famous actor from China. That's not Jackie Chan. So like, and he's great. I mean, he's amazing. Like everything that he does and says is brilliant. He's one of the best actors I think alive. And I really love his subtlety in this movie.
Very, very, very charming, especially like that last scene. It was. We don't have to jump there yet, but just.
His reaction to the shutter opening, like that's you can't manufacture that. That's such authentic. You know what I mean? His face. But yeah, we won't jump ahead. But yeah.
But the second, Brandon.
No, go ahead.
When I said I had mentioned like the first part happening late at night, and then the second part is very much during the day, and it's
I didn't even
still
think
very.
about that.
It's very well. I get this. This is why it's really good to like watch like the 10-minute videos with the Criterion, because I do a lot of great interviews with people that just kind of help influence kind of
these people that have spent their lives studying this shit. And they're like, all right, I'm going to tell you every cool thing about this movie in 10 minutes. And you're like, great, take me on the ride. Yeah. That's why I like it.
And like same thing with like, you can even draw parallels to like different shots and things like that from the two. But like, it's the theme of like the airplanes, of going somewhere, of traveling, of like, because Faye walks around in this like perpetual, she's like a free spirit, she daydreams, she sleepwalks.
She's a dreamer. Like her favorite song is California Dreamin'. She sings a cover of Dreams by the Cranberries. Like that's very much how she moves through the world.
Well, it's interesting because there's there is that classic pixie dream girl trope or whatever you call it. What I'm looking for, is that right?
Manic pixie dream girl.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
And this one also breaks and enters into apartments.
but even that, this character, and maybe it was more because we were following her for a while before we kind of go into the thing, but it didn't seem like it didn't have anything that would hit the usual criticisms of that character or the criticisms we've been seeing recently. Like the character has her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own drives. She flip-flops on her feelings at times. And then also, like you said, she's just breaking into dude's apartment. So that's a whole other wild thing. She's also nuts, but it didn't feel like she's a character that's being used to further the story of the main guy protagonist, which is usually what that character is used for in movies.
Yeah, she's not a plot device. She's a real
her own
human
entity.
being.
Yeah.
And just such an entertaining character.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the tension that she builds just by being in this guy's apartment and like slowly changing all of his shit around, like
fucking wild.
My own personal how I am. I was like, what is she doing? Is she psycho? Like he doesn't even know that she's coming to his apartment.
Well, no, but I mean, like it's less that she. I mean, she's like cleaning and she's doing his laundry.
Sure,
she's like,
right. But if you came out to your apartment and like one thing was cleaned, you would freak the fuck out. Like if not, like it's not like she cleaned the whole apartment. She's like, I'm gonna switch this cup with your toothbrush in it. and I'm going to put this little picture up. And just like little things that you'd be like, is somebody fucking with me? What is happening?
He has these moments where he like has relationships with these different objects because I don't, either they represent kind of the little fling that he had with the flight attendant or whatever. And I thought it was interesting because I was like, why is he talking to these stuffed animals and this bar of soap and this rag and things like that? It. And when I sit down and think about it, it's like, this is how he's processing his loneliness. Like, a lot of a good theme that comes around is like the crying, right? So in the first part of the movie, the reason he jogs is because you sweat and you have less water to cry, so you won't cry. It's his way of like his defense mechanism of like actually feeling that emotion. Same thing with 663 is the second.
Yeah, it's 223 and 663. Yeah,
663, where he can't sit with himself. He has to project that onto items that he can have that conversation with and process in his own way. And I thought that was very beautiful, but the mind, like, yes, it is very tongue in cheek and it is very lighthearted, mind games, but I'm just saying my own personal thing of like, if I hear someone saying hello from like what I think is my apartment, but I keep looking and it's there.
Well, yeah, well, because we spend a lot of time through her perspective at the Midnight Express. And so this cop that she thinks is really cute or handsome and she starts to like him. He keeps coming in and he's like, no, change. Like, I'm not somebody who can change right away. It's slow. And I have to like make sure it's very incremental. So that's like what she's doing. She's like slowly introducing and helping him. Like, cause also you have to remember she has the letter that his love like left him and the keys and how she gets in. But like, she knows that like this is what he's like, and she knows that he's got his heart broken. So she's like slowly trying to like ease him out of those feelings, and you can see that it's working. He starts to become like cheerful, and like every time they see each other when he's eating his food, and they like hang out and they talk. And I think it's like it is kind of weird, but it's also like really sweet and
it's super sweet up until the point that she floods his apartment.
Yeah, that was a little weird. And that was real too, by the way. Like that, the apartments, like, cause like they like flooded the apartment for real. And so the units like in that building under them were like, what the fuck? Like, you can't do that.
Just ruined my apartment.
Yeah. So I just thought that was funny. There's like tons of like little.
That's wild.
I feel like it's one of those stories that, these like trailers on YouTube and stuff where they take a movie and they change the music and then like, they edit the trailer and the scenes as if it was like a horror movie.
You could make this like a horror movie.
You could really totally make it.
Oh yeah. Her being way too happy, like dancing around in his apartment. It's like,
but Caleb, that's a very interesting point because I completely missed that vehicle of that slow, gradual change. Because then the point is to be almost unnoticeable until it's changed enough to be like, shit, like, what is this? It's even like the canned food and like the
he switches sardines with what the other thing is, like, and he's like, why the fuck does this taste so bad?
I'm being more observant, and it is really cute because it does help him at the end where you build to that reaction of her coming back and even him finding the boarding pass on the napkin, or the letter, the handwritten boarding pass. And like one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen is when she comes back and she tries to write him another one, and she asks, where do you want to go? And he's like, wherever you want to take me. And it's like it's such a that.
Well,
like,
even it's like 2 seconds before that. It's the line that really brings out everything we were just talking about, where he's like, she's like, when did you start liking this loud ass music? And he's like, well, you give me time. I get used to things. And like, that's that moment, by the way, where I'm glad you said that about him being the actor that he is. Cause it was like, that's a real on point 10 out of 10 delivery right there.
Yeah.
Like that is just fucking.
Would you say this would be kind of parallel to Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born?
Hey, I just want to get another look at you. No, this is way better than that fucking movie.
It's funny because like Faye as a
people just like me for my songs. They don't like the way I look. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not gonna rip on Lady Gaga too much, but it is funny because Faye Wong is a pop star.
That's what you said. That's what
like,
I brought it up.
and this was like one of her first movies, and she's so good. Like she's so charismatic, and like the way that she like ducks in and out. She's like hiding in cupboards, and then she like he comes home, and she's like, "What the fuck are you taking in my apartment?" She's like, I was cleaning the goldfish." Like what?
That's my favorite thing. Every time she runs into him, she just freaks out, like goes full just deer in the headlights.
But how frustrating sometimes is it that like Faye as a character, she's so hard to read. Like as a man. You know, or as you're like, maybe she's a little quirky and you're like kind of love, but like the signals, when we talk strictly about body language and signals that maybe a woman that maybe you're interested in gives off, so confusing. I would be like, what is your intention? Like, do you want to like hang out?
Well, but think about it from her perspective, right? Like, especially with what we know about her character is somebody who lives in fantasy. It's like, oh, I want to go to California with no plan. That's just what I want to do. She's a daydreamer. So like by taking control of like the situation in where she has been, she's able to kind of like live the reality in a fantastical way. But as soon as he's like conscious of the reality of it and like goes to like, give her a foot massage or like, ask her on a date, it becomes like this thing that maybe is too real. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, now I gotta fucking go. But there's obviously a romantic connection there. There's obviously really strong feelings on both sides there, which is why it's melancholic.
But then you can see that change when she is a flight attendant at the end, and she has a different energy to her.
Yeah,
it isn't that manic pixie energy. She's changed. She knows what she's doing, what she wants to do. Like you can feel it when she lifts up the thing right away. And she's like, why are you here? It's just a very different energy of the character, which I thought was very well done and profound.
Yeah, and it's a year that passes between that date or the supposed date, the night that the date was supposed to happen, and when she comes back.
And then you think about what that means for him too, because in a year, he's completely changed occupations.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like in the music and everything. It's like they've had such a profound effect on each other that at the end, I think it's very beautiful that like they sort of end up together. Mm-hmm. In the first story, it's very much like we had a brief moment of connection and he's like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, even if I never see her again. You know what I mean? That she wished me happy birthday. And now in the second story, there is a sort of indication and implication that they will go on, maybe not forever, but they're going to have a tangible romance.
Well, and we leave the first story being like, we don't want him to ever see her again.
Is that how you felt?
Yeah, she just shot a dude in the face.
Who was trying to set her up to, take the fall for him for the drug smuggling.
Right, which is probably why all of that's not going to work out with the kid who's a cop.
I'm just saying I didn't come off with it like I hear what you're saying.
No, I just mean it's a very different. It didn't end with that like romantic.
Yeah,
I hope that they see each other again. Where this one, like, it ends off where you don't know exactly what's happening in the second one, but you know that they're going to at least try, which is what I myself as the audience want to see at the end there.
Yeah, they're going to try something, and whether or not it works, I think isn't the point. It's the fact that like they've managed to this connection and
like you said, she's gotten past that pushing away the realness and reality of things, and he's gotten past his other shit in the past, where there's that one beautiful line where he's taping up the box and he goes it's like clearing the runway for a new plane to land. And it was just such a beautiful line.
His whole the way that he talks about his relationship with the stewardess. They have that really amazing montage of them like kind of like goofing around and then like running around the apartment with like and then he runs the plane over her body. It's just so sensual and it's so like honest and real. And then it's over and she's like, I gotta go, and it's heartbreaking and then, Josh, the way that he sort of deals with it by like, fish and stuffed animals and everything, bar of soap. Why are you so sad? Like, you can't be sad because I'm sad. And it's just this.
Why are you thinning out so much, bar of soap? You have to take care of yourself.
And then later he's like, you gained too much weight. It's funny. It's funny great. And it's sad all at once. And it's that, he's known for that mix of emotions, that balance of getting everything out there.
It's so clever. That bit is so outrageously clever.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, he was just, I really liked it. By the way, though, I have to go back to something you just said. That scene with the airplane, fantastic. Great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I've seen that scene before. It came after, and I've heard you rip on the exact same scene, and you just replace the plane with some animal cookies, and you throw a little, fucking Aerosmith in the background, and you got the scene from Armageddon, which I hear you rip on all the time. And it's the exact same scene, so I don't want to hear that no more.
Wait, you don't like the journey of that animal cracker going down to Liv Taylor's like panty line? You don't like that?
I know that you guys are.
Don't wanna miss a thing.
Okay. Are we done? Are we quite finished, young men?
Children, boys.
So if you guys didn't have anything like internally, I wanted to talk a little bit about like the behind the scenes stuff about the movie before we wrap up.
Please.
So like I was saying, Brandon, this is the movie that blew up Wong Kar-wai internationally, but he was like already a really big deal in Hong Kong. He was making this epic film, this like called Ashes of Time, and then production halted for like a couple months for various reasons. And so he was like, all right, what should I do? I know, I'll get all of the most famous actors and actresses and do this like thing by myself, like on a really low budget, and just shoot it. And it took like less than a month to get everybody to do this. They were building the story and script every day. They would, he would write in the morning, they would shoot in the afternoons or evenings. He borrowed people's apartments. Like, like the second cop's apartment is the apartment of the cinematographer. That they, again, flooded for real. That Midnight Express snack bar is one that he would go to all the time. And he grew up in the area the first story was set. Very low budget. And I just love that. I love that it's like a real, true artistic expression of like this place that you can tell he really loves, that he grew up in, and just these ideas of romance that he wanted to tackle.
And that just, it's all the way through. You can feel it in the tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The entirety of it.
Yeah.
It's especially for them to be on such a low budget. So, you have to imagine their lighting setups for something like that has to be limited at the time too.
Oh yeah.
The tone of it throughout is so remarkably well done.
Well, and then like just how quickly it was filmed, going back to all the repetition and the themes and the motifs that are brought up, including there was one moment that was brought to my attention about the flight attendant leaving, and you see that escalator by his apartment and the reflection, right? Faye has that exact same kind of shot with her going up the escalator, in the second part of it, or during her part, and it's just, we talked every frame of painting. Caleb and I watched a few videos, and they talked about like camera and the lenses and like how the way you zoom in, the way you can use the frame to tell the same, like a added story to what you're already saying. And I think about the idea that I don't even see if you consider it a montage, but when Faye is in the apartment with the rubber gloves and the airplane, and she literally spends the whole time just flying that through the apartment and in the into the fish tank and things like that, and then out of the fish tank. And it's just focused, I believe, more so just on the plane itself. But it's like, how do you film that? How does that add to like this kind of the mood? I guess what Caleb said at the very beginning. This is a mood, atmospheric type of movie.
But even the focus without having to point to it in dialogue or anything. I mean, when we were talking about the scene in the first one where he's at he's running in the rain and he leaves his pager and he's walking away from the pager when it rings. I mean, the camera doesn't take focus off the pager that entire time. The camera moves a little bit with him, but it stays focused on the pager until he comes back, which is like something we see so often now, but in the way that it was done in that with the tone of it, you just notice it more because it's so purposeful,
And the genius is almost shooting guerrilla style, so to speak, like writing in the morning, shooting at night for 23 days while you're on a break, and to still have all of these different layers and elements to it. I mean, genius, you know, like he's
raw
master.
talent and creativity and ingenuity. Yeah. And just like, you think it's like, just imagine being like, I'm going to make this movie for fun on downtime while my big budget studio action movie is getting whatever, and being able to call up like the most famous actors and actresses in Hong Kong. Be like, hey, do you want to be in this? Hey, Beyonce, do you want to be in this movie? Like, you know, it's fucking crazy. And everybody's like, yeah, I want to work with you because you're the real deal.
Well, you know, for you, Brandon, it would be Shawn Mendes, you know. Hey, Shawn Mendes. Can you?
Hey, Camila Cabello. I don't know how to say her name. Anyway,
Justin
sorry, Brandon.
Bieber's from Toronto.
Oh, well, okay. I like Shawn Mendes better.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a guy named Drake.
No, I haven't.
No.
Who is he's the guy who continuously gropes underage girls on stage, right?
Jesus. No, that's Akon, I think you're talking about.
Oh, it's definitely more than one person, and that's definitely something Drake's done.
All right, moving on.
Sorry, views from the 6. Holla. Anyway, something else. Oh, sorry. No, what's your point? I'm sorry.
I don't remember now. We got sidetracked.
Sorry.
All right, I'm sorry. All right. Another cool thing I really love. So obviously, if you watch like any of Quentin Tarantino's movies, he's very, very influenced by Asian cinema, like Japanese, Chinese, Hong Kong, all of it. But he saw this movie and he literally walked into Miramax and made a deal where he formed his own releasing distribution company to bring this movie to the West. And he was like, more people have to see this shit. So like the reason that a lot of people in the West have been exposed to Wong Kar-wai, especially in the 90s where like you didn't have the internet and you have to kind of rely on just like studios bringing stuff over from film festivals or whatever.
VHSs.
Yeah. So he was like, no, people are going to fucking watch this movie. And I'm so glad that he did, because then we wouldn't have this, you know, I think it's really fucking great.
Yeah.
And and it's especially nowadays these kind of human stories that just allow empathy, and it's important, you know. It's important. Gets people out of their own bubble and their own little world.
It's such a universal feel like thing that people go through.
Exactly.
On a day-to-day basis, you know.
And like, it's
no matter what language you speak, you can relate to these characters, and
it's so easy to divide by, you know, politics or countries or all of this, and then like you watch something like that and people are people, you know.
Yeah,
definitely.
Fucking beautiful movie, man.
I am glad that you guys came around to it, enjoyed it. I know it's like different, but I found it to be really, I just think it's great. I think he's awesome.
It was really refreshing. I mean, and again, I know it's a movie from the 90s, but it's so its own style. It wasn't trying to be anything else. That's the thing. Like, once I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but once I fell into the groove of the movie, I was like, if this was an 8-part series, I'd just leave it on. You know what I mean? Like, like it would be great because you're just in there with their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't have anything else. Unless you guys do, we can rate.
I'm good. I think we're ready.
I think we're ready. Yeah. I don't think there was any other.
Cool. Things, so I gave this this is like my second watch after many years. I gave it a 4.5. I really, really like it a lot. He has another movie that he made a few years after this called In the Mood for Love, which is an absolute fucking masterpiece. Like, it's just so far and away his best movie, in my opinion.
Oh, it's better than this. Okay, fine.
Like, in my opinion, I find it to be even more incredible. So the I just can't justify, like, it's just so much better in my opinion.
You know that this is his 4.5.
Yeah, this is where this is 4.5 for me. But I, you know, again, everything that we were saying, I think is beautiful, and I'm really glad that you guys gave it a chance. Thank you.
Oh, dude. I mean,
I'm going to give it a 4 after the conversation, because it now that I'm getting kind of more into the actual craft of movie making and the appreciative of that aspect of it, I just can't. Yeah, it's well done. Very, very, very cool.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I was really impressed. And it's the combination of both, Josh, like what you were saying. I mean, obviously the cinematography was unbelievable. Directing was fantastic. The writing was great. And then there's also, this is what I was going to say before. There's a very clear director-actor relationships going on there that work amazingly, which again speaks to all of those people jumping out of whatever they were doing and doing that for 30 days. You can see that he's letting them run in the best possible way.
Yeah.
You know, and live in the characters, and it seems like it was an amazing process for everybody, you know. And God, what a fucking thing to put out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Wong Kar-wai, everybody. Watch In the Mood for Love, and 2046 is great too. Fallen Angels.
Wait, how did his action movie do?
Ashes of Time. Yeah, it's very famous. It's great.
Also super dope. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's like he's like one of the people are like, you're the best director ever.
I just didn't know if because there were those issues, you know what I mean? And like
totally.
Like, that came out as a flop and this killed it.
I'm not even completely sure what the issue was. It was just like a 2-month break. And he was like, I want to make this masterpiece.
Yeah, before we know there was an issue, they're just like, no, we're on a 2-month break.
His other ones, can you see? Is it on the Criterion collection?
A bunch of them should be. Yeah, I have the Blu-ray for In the Mood for Love, and I think a bunch of his stuff should be on. I know Fallen Angels is on the channel at least, and I'm sure the other stuff is too.
Cool.
So highly recommend.
All right.
Super dope.
So this is my choice.
Yeah, Josh. What's the follow-up?
And I almost forgot I was doing this. So I'm gonna actually request pick the movie Crash from 2004.
Fuck yes, Josh. Fuck yes.
And it's because it was co-written by Robert Moresco, who's a studio member who did a Q&A last Monday, and he talked a lot about ideas in film and the way he writes. You know, he kind of broke down Crash. And it kind of really felt like it was really interesting. He may have a Q&A this next Monday before we record Crash. So if he does, I will send you guys the links so you guys can tune in.
Please do.
And I think it's very, very, very interesting. So we can maybe it won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay that year. And so it'd be interesting to talk more about like idea and like what ties characters together and things like that. Because it does deal with some of these issues. So
what a fucking movie!
I'm also pretty sure it won Best Picture.
Best Picture, I think so as well. I'm pretty sure it won Best Picture.
Did it?
Yeah. Because it has this like I don't know if you guys are aware. It has a reputation of being like it's like considered one of the worst Best Picture winners.
Oh, interesting. I did not.
So I'm very interested. I haven't seen it, so
cool.
I just know that that's the reputation it has. No. So this is the one from 2004.
Yes.
This is not the David Cronenberg one from earlier.
No, it's 2004.
Just so nobody's confused. This is the 2004 Paul Haggis.
Yeah.
Notable for being a fucking Scientology nut. So
it's on HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Here in the US, I'm not sure, Brandon.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll find it. I think I might own it somewhere here already.
Oh, so it did get Best Picture, Critics Award for Best Acting Ensemble. So yeah, I mean it's all right. Okay, so
it's a fucking movie. That's a fucking movie.
It has Ludacris in it. Like, come on.
I mean, I'm excited to give it a fair chance, but I just that's the reputation it has.
Yeah, we'll see. Totally,
we'll see.
There's a lot of good acting going on in it.
I've heard, and again, we'll talk more about this. I've heard the common complaint seems to be that it is very like blunt and on the nose and is like not subtle at all.
It is also very give me an Academy Award.
Yeah, it seems like it's very like.
But they won it, so I feel like then it worked, right?
Well, because like Hollywood is likes to pat themselves on the back.
Yeah,
for being like, did you know racism is bad? Like that's what it seems like the movie is. I mean, that's
one of the 6 stories for sure.
Yeah. So
maybe
and again,
2 of
we'll
the
see.
6 stories.
I'm gonna go into it with an open mind, but I just a lot of people fucking think this movie's dumb, but we'll see.
Like I said, it was brought up because of the Q&A with the co-writer of it. So I'm not
saying it's you at all. I'm just saying like
I know. I'm just saying it's like with all this added stuff to it. Like I'm totally excited. Like I don't mean to keep bringing them the best, worst, or the worst. Like
no.
Falls into this
I know.
Category.
Maybe I'll disagree. I don't know.
There's going to be a lot to talk about because there's a lot of great acting. It's a split up story, so even story wise, it's not.
Yeah, you got Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon, and I cannot remember
Sandra
that woman's
Bullock.
name. She's in everything.
Is it Tandy Newton?
Yes.
I know she's in the movie too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was
Andy
thinking of.
Newton, Don Cheadle.
Is it
Matt
is it
Dillon,
Jessica Chastain or Christina Hendricks?
Do that. Do that.
Brendan Fraser?
All right, guys.
Yeah, so great. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Was Three Affairs podcast on Chungking Express.
Yes, sir.
Please check it out. Also, if you haven't done so already, we have our latest episode is up. You know, Borat, subsequent movie film, and Ghostbusters.
Yagashamash Wawawiwa.
Wawawiwa.
Which, by the way, quick retcon, if anybody listened to that last episode, they are in fact speaking Hebrew. Caleb brought that to our attention. I'm
Yes.
a moron. That's not my fault. I did my bar mitzvah in phonetics. That's why. So don't blame me.
Okay. I know. I did think it was funny because you were the one who was like,
Hilarious.
what language is it? And you're like the one that should know out of the three of us. But it's all good. It's all good.
So we have that episode coming up. Coming up. That episode is out. This one will be out next week. And we have great guests coming up too in the next couple of months we're excited about. So please keep tuned, share, tell people about it, subscribe. We're on YouTube and all the major podcast channels. We're on social media. All of our handles are online, our Instagram at #3MAffairs.
Yeah. 33% of us are on Letterboxd.
I messaged Caleb on Letterboxd.
Almost 66% of us will be on Letterboxd by next week.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah. We love talking about this stuff. So
All right. Bye, guys. Stay safe, everybody. We don't know what's about to happen, but I do agree, Brandon. We're all people, and we have to find a way to make it work with love and compassion. Have a good weekend.
have a good weekend. Till next time, guys.
Bye.